You know what's funny about trust? It takes years to build, decades sometimes. You spend countless hours, endless conversations, shared struggles, and mutual sacrifices, all to create something invisible but powerful. A bond, a connection, an unspoken promise that says, I've got your back and you've got mine. And then, in a single afternoon, someone can destroy it completely. One lie, one betrayal, one moment of greed. That's all it takes. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 34 years old. I was born in San Francisco to immigrant parents who worked themselves to the bone so I could have a better life. My father drove a taxi for 30 years. My mother worked double shifts at a dry cleaning business. They saved every penny. They sacrificed everything so that I could go to Stanford, so that I could become somebody. And I did become somebody, for a while. 3 years ago, I lost everything. My company, my reputation, my wife, my daughter, my home, my identity. Everything I had spent my entire life building, gone, vanished like smoke in the wind, all because of one man. His name was Derek Sullivan. He was my best friend, my business partner, the godfather to my daughter, the man I would have taken a bullet for, and he destroyed me without a second thought. This is the story of how I crawled out of the ashes, how I refused to stay broken, and how I made Derek Sullivan pay for every single thing he took from me. This is a story about betrayal, about patience, about revenge, and about finding out what you're really made of when the whole world turns against you. Before I tell you about the fall, let me tell you about the rise. I met Derek Sullivan during our freshman year at Stanford. We were roommates, two ambitious kids from completely different backgrounds. I was the son of immigrants, hungry to prove myself, desperate to make my parents' sacrifices worthwhile. Derek was from old money, Connecticut, private schools, country clubs, the kind of background that opens doors before you even knock. But despite our differences, we clicked immediately. Derek was charismatic, brilliant, the kind of guy who could walk into any room and own it within 5 minutes. People were drawn to him like moths to a flame. He had this ability to make you feel like you were the most important person in the world when he talked to you. And me? I was the quiet one, the worker, the one who stayed up until 3 in the morning perfecting code while Derek was at parties. We balanced each other out, yin and yang, fire and ice. After graduation, we both went into tech, worked at different companies for a few years, stayed in touch, dreamed about someday starting something together. That someday came in 2015. We founded Novatech in my garage. Classic Silicon Valley story, right? 2 guys, 1 laptop, a dream. Our idea was revolutionary. Hospital management software that could reduce administrative errors by 70% and save the healthcare industry billions of dollars. We weren't just building a product, we were saving lives. The first 2 years were brutal. We worked 18-hour days. We maxed out credit cards. We survived on instant noodles and energy drinks. There were moments when I wanted to quit, moments when the bills were piling up and the investors weren't calling back and everything seemed hopeless. But we kept going. And then, in 2017, everything changed. A major venture capital firm invested $10 million in Novatech. Suddenly, we had offices, employees, a real company. By 2019, we were worth over $100 million. We had contracts with hospitals across the country. We were featured in Forbes, in Wired, on CNBC. I was named CEO, the board's decision. They saw me as the stable one, the reliable one, the leader who would make the tough calls. Derek was named Chief Technology Officer. He smiled when the announcement was made, shook my hand, said he was happy for me. But looking back now, I can see it. That flash in his eyes, that moment of darkness that disappeared so quickly I thought I had imagined it. I should have paid attention. I should have known. Meanwhile, my personal life was flourishing too. I had married Rachel 2 years after college. She was an architect, brilliant, beautiful, the kind of woman who challenged me to be better every single day. And then there was Emma, my daughter. Born in 2016, right when Novatech was struggling the most. I remember holding her in the hospital, this tiny, perfect human being, and thinking, I will give you everything. I will never let anything bad happen to you. I will build a world where you never have to struggle like I did. She became my reason for everything. Every late night, every tough decision, every sacrifice for Emma. By October 2022, I thought I had made it. I had a successful company, a loving family, a beautiful home in Palo Alto. I had achieved the American dream. I had no idea it was all about to come crashing down. October 15th, Emma's 7th birthday. I remember waking up that morning with a smile on my face. The sun was streaming through the windows. Rachel was already up, preparing for Emma's party. The house smelled of pancakes and birthday cake. I kissed my wife, I hugged my daughter, I promised I would be home early. "Daddy, you promise?" Emma asked, her big brown eyes looking up at me. "I promise, sweetheart. Nothing in the world could keep me away." I wish I could go back to that moment. I wish I could freeze time, stay in that kitchen forever, with my family, with my innocence, because I had no idea that I would never stand in that kitchen as a free man again. The drive to work was normal. Traffic on the 101, coffee from my usual place, a podcast about leadership playing on the speakers. When I pulled into Novatech's parking lot, I saw the police cars, 6 of them, black SUVs, unmarked vehicles. My first thought was that something had happened to one of our employees, an accident maybe, a medical emergency. I parked, got out of my car, and then I saw the FBI jackets. 2 agents approached me before I could even reach the front door. A man and a woman, professional, serious. They showed me their badges. "Mr. Marcus Chen?" "Yes." "What's going on?" "Sir, you are arrested for wire fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. You have the right to stay silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." The world stopped spinning. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what was happening. "There must be a mistake," I managed to say. "I haven't done anything." The female agent pulled out a folder, showed me documents, bank statements, wire transfers, emails. Millions of dollars moved from Novatech accounts to offshore banks in the Cayman Islands. And my name was on everything. My signature, my email address, my digital fingerprints. "Sir, please turn around and place your hands behind your back." The handcuffs clicked around my wrists, and I was led away in front of my employees, in front of the people who had trusted me, in front of the company I had built from nothing. I heard whispers. I saw faces, shock, confusion, disgust. I spent Emma's 7th birthday in a holding cell. That night, alone in that cell, I cried for the first time since I was a child, not because I was scared for myself, but because I knew that somewhere across the city, my little girl was blowing out candles on her birthday cake, wondering why her daddy had broken his promise. The next 6 months were the darkest period of my life. The media found out within hours. By the next morning, my face was everywhere. Every news channel, every website, every newspaper. Tech CEO embezzles $50 million from own company. Novatech founder arrested in massive fraud scheme. The rise and fall of Marcus Chen. Social media was even worse. Anonymous accounts tearing me apart. Former colleagues expressing their shock and disappointment. Strangers who had never met me calling me every name imaginable. I became a symbol, a cautionary tale, a villain in the public imagination. The investors pulled out immediately. They had no choice. The scandal had made Novatech toxic. Within 3 weeks, the company was in free fall. We tried to save it. My CFO, Sarah Martinez, worked all the clock, but it was hopeless. The contracts were canceled, the clients were gone, the reputation was destroyed. Novatech officially declared bankruptcy on December 15th. 237 people lost their jobs right before the holidays, right before Christmas. People who had mortgages, car payments, kids in college, medical bills, all of them blamed me. And I couldn't blame them for blaming me. From their perspective, I was the monster who stole from them, who had taken their trust in their hard work and thrown it all away for personal greed. If I had been in their position, I would have hated me too. The personal fallout was even worse. I began by tracking Derek's movements, his routines, his habits. Every morning, he went to the gym at 6, a private fitness club in downtown San Francisco. Every evening, he had dinner at one of 3 restaurants. Every weekend, he played golf at a country club in Marin. I became a shadow, invisible, patient. I watched him from parked cars, from coffee shops across the street, from park benches where he walked past without a second glance. He had already dismissed me, already forgotten me. I was beneath his notice, a problem that would solve itself when the trial ended and the prison doors closed behind me. That arrogance would be his downfall. I also started digging into the evidence against me. Derek was careful, brilliant even. He had spent 8 years building this trap. Every digital fingerprint, every timestamp, every piece of evidence had been meticulously planted. But here's the thing about long-term plans. They leave traces, small inconsistencies, details that don't quite match, holes that only someone looking very, very closely would notice. I started by reaching out to old colleagues, people who had lost their jobs when Novatech collapsed, people who had every reason to hate me, but who might hate Derek more if they knew the truth. The first one I contacted was Sarah Martinez, our former head of accounting. Sarah had lost everything when Novatech went under. Her career, her savings, her house. Her husband had left her. Her credit was destroyed. She was working 2 jobs just to survive. I met her at a diner on the outskirts of the city, neutral territory. She looked tired, older than her years. "Why should I talk to you?" she asked. "You destroyed everything. You stole from us." "I didn't steal anything, Sarah. I was framed." She laughed bitterly. "That's what they all say." "I know who did it." She stopped laughing. I told her everything. Derek's visit, his confession, the years of planning, the offshore accounts. She listened in silence, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "I always knew something was wrong," she said finally. "The numbers, they never quite added up. There were transactions that didn't fit the pattern, timestamps that seemed off. But by the time I noticed, the FBI was already involved. I assumed it was just my mistake." "It wasn't your mistake. It was designed to look exactly like the kind of fraud the FBI would expect. Derek knew what they would look for. He gave it to them on a silver platter." Sarah looked at me, hard. "What do you need?" she asked. "I need the old financial records, the backups that weren't turned over to the FBI. I know you kept copies. You kept copies of everything." She hesitated. "If I help you, and you're lying, I could go to prison myself." "I'm not lying, and when this is over, I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth, including what happened to you, including what Derek stole from all of us." She was quiet for another long moment. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a USB drive. "I've been carrying this for months. Call it intuition, call it paranoia, but something about the case never felt right. I took the drive. Thank you, Sarah. I won't forget this. Just promise me one thing. Anything. When you take him down, make sure he suffers. I nodded. I promise. Sarah's records became my Bible. For months, I studied them. Every transaction, every timestamp, every digital signature. And slowly, I started finding the cracks. The first inconsistency was a timestamp. One of the fraudulent emails, an email supposedly sent by me to an offshore bank, was timestamped at 3:47 p.m. on September 14th, 2021. But on September 14th, 2021, I was in Boston at a healthcare conference, speaking in front of 300 people. There were photographs, video recordings, my face timestamped, speaking about the future of hospital management systems. At 3:47 p.m. Derek had made his first mistake. The second crack was an IP address. Most of the fraudulent communications had been routed through anonymous servers, untraceable, professional. But one email, sent early in the scheme back in 2020, had a slightly different signature. The anonymization had failed for a few seconds, and buried in the metadata was an IP address that traced back to a residential internet service, Derek's home address. The third crack was the most significant. The digital signatures on the fraudulent documents were perfect. Too perfect, actually. They matched my signature exactly. But here's the thing about signatures. They change slightly over time. The pressure, the angle, the speed, these things evolve as people age, as their circumstances change. The signatures on the 2022 documents were identical to my signatures from 2019. Not similar, identical. Because Derek had copied them using software. He had frozen my signature in time and replicated it across 3 years of fraud. A handwriting expert would be able to prove that the signatures were artificial, that no human being writes their name exactly the same way hundreds of times over multiple years. I was building a case, but I needed more. I needed something undeniable. I needed Derek to confess again, but this time I would be recording. It took me 18 months to set everything up. During that time, the trial had been delayed multiple times. My lawyers, who now believed in my innocence, filed motion after motion, discovery requests, expert witness qualifications, procedural challenges. We were buying time, and I was using every second of it. I created a fake identity, a tech investor named Michael Richardson from Singapore. I built an elaborate backstory, a website for a fake investment firm, fake social media profiles with years of history, fake references from real companies who owed me favors from the old days. The cover was perfect, airtight. And then I reached out to Derek. By now, he had been promoted, CEO of a competitor company that had picked up the pieces of Novatech. He was living in a mansion in Los Altos Hills, driving a Ferrari, vacationing in Monaco, all funded by the money he had stolen from me. Mr. Sullivan, I represent a consortium of Asian investors interested in acquiring American technology companies. Your track record is most impressive. We would like to discuss a potential opportunity. Derek's greedy eyes lit up. $200 million, more money than even he had imagined. That's a generous offer, Mr. Richardson. But there is a condition. A condition? I leaned forward, lowered my voice. My investors appreciate people who know how to handle obstacles, people who can navigate around rules when necessary, people who have demonstrated a certain flexibility with ethics. Derek's expression shifted, interested, calculating. I don't seem to understand what you mean. I think you do, Sullivan. You see, we've done our research. We know about Novatech. We know about Marcus Chen. and we suspect there is more to that story than the public knows. For a moment, Derek was silent, evaluating, deciding whether to trust me. I held my breath, and then he smiled. "You're more perceptive than I expected, Mr. Richardson. So it's true, you were behind it?" Derek leaned back, took a sip of his whiskey. "Let me tell you a story about a man who worked years in someone else's shadow, who watched his ideas become someone else's success, and who decided enough was enough." He talked for over an hour. Derek was proud of what he had done. That was the sickest part. He talked about it like it was his greatest achievement, his masterpiece. He described the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the routing through 6 different countries, the cryptocurrency investments that made the money virtually untraceable. He explained the technical details, the software he had developed to copy my digital signature, the backdoors he had installed in the company's systems, the emails he had scheduled to send from my accounts while I was sleeping. He talked about the patience required, 8 years of planning, 8 years of smiling at me while plotting my destruction. The beauty of it, he said, leaning forward with gleaming eyes, is that everyone believed it. His wife, his friends, the FBI, the media, everyone. Because I didn't just frame him for a crime, I destroyed who he was. Marcus Chen doesn't exist anymore. I erased him. He laughed. And the money? $53 million I took from Novatech, plus the accounts he never knew about, skimming from client payments.